Welcome. Today we come to the city of Santa Ana in the state of California. Our destination is John Wayne Airport, and especially to the Lyon Air Museum to the tribute to Caroll Shelby. The museum is spectacular. It has magnificent warplanes and some other objects that belong to past war conflicts. So for these aspects, this museum is the perfect place to pay tribute to Caroll Shelby. Caroll Hall Shelby was an American automotive designer, racing driver and entrepreneur. Shelby is best known for his involvement with the AC Cobra and Mustang for Ford Motor Company, which he modified during the late 1960s and early 2000s. He established Shelby American in 1962 to manufacture and market performance vehicles. His autobiography, The Caroll Shelby Story, was published in 1967. As a race car driver, his highlight was as a co-driver of the winning 1959 24 Hours of Le Mans entry driving an Aston Martin DBR1. He then went on to win the SCCA USAC Road Racing Sports Car Championship in 1960 driving a Maserati Tipo 61 Birdcage and a Chevrolet Scarab Mark II. As an automotive designer, he is known for developing the Ford GT40 along with racing legend Ken Miles, which won at Le Mans in 1966, 1967, 1968 and 1969. As of 2024, it remains the only American-built car ever to win the 24 Hours of Le Mans. He and Miles's efforts at Le Mans were dramatized in the 2019 Oscar-winning film Ford v Ferrari. 2006 Oldsmobile engine used in the Series 1 North America. Shelby's Series 1 Roadster used Oldsmobile's 4.0 LL47 Aurora V8, which was chosen because it was the selected engine by Indy for that year, but was poorly supported by the ailing GM division. Shelby had already built an Aurora engine sports prototype together with RaceFab in 1997, in an attempt to continue his single-make Can-Am series. The Series 1 is the only car ever produced by Caroll Shelby from a clean sheet of paper and built from the ground up. All other Shelbys were re-engineered models produced by other manufacturers and then modified by Shelby. Before manufacturing the Series 1, substantial expenses were accrued for the purpose of conducting tests and obtaining certification in order to comply with the 1999 Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standards. Shelby American built a total of 249 production Series 1 cars as model year 1999 cars. During production, Venture Corporation purchased Shelby American Incorporated. The purchase included the Series 1 model, but not the rights to produce the continuation series Shelby Cobras. Failed verification in 2004, after a subsequent bankruptcy by Venture Corporation, unrelated to the acquisition of Shelby American, Caroll Shelby's new company, Shelby Automobiles Incorporated, purchased the Series 1 assets for pennies on the dollar. Included in the asset purchase were enough components to produce several more complete Series 1s. Because the 1999 Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standard certificate had expired, and the cost to recertify the car was prohibitive, all Series 1s produced after that date were completed as component cars and delivered with no engine or transmission. Those component car models built in 2005 are identified with a 7-digit Vehicle Identification Number, VIN, and were designated with the CSX 5000 series serial number. The original 249 were production cars with a 17-digit VIN. The Series 1 was produced in both supercharged and normally aspirated versions. Supercharged cars were also outfitted by the factory with larger brakes and a heavy-duty clutch. Performance is near supercar category with a 0 to 60 miles per hour time at 4.1 seconds for the supercharged version. The Series 1 had power steering, power disc brakes, factory air conditioning, power windows, and an AM/FM/CD audio system. The convertible top folded away in a compartment located behind the cockpit. Some component cars were sold as roadsters with no convertible top. In 2004, A new Ford Shelby Cobra concept was shown off at U.S. car shows. Built with a retro body mimicking the 1960s Cobras mixed with modern touches, it was based on the Ford GT chassis, reworked for front engine/rear-wheel drive, powered with a 6.4L V10 engine that produced 605 horsepower, 451 kilowatts. It received overwhelmingly positive press reviews and has won the Best in Show award at Detroit International Auto Show. A coupe version of the Shelby Cobra Roadster was introduced the following year. The Ford Shelby GT1 concept car of 2005. While sporting a completely modern design, it showed a nod to the 1960s Shelby Daytona. The GT1, like the Cobra, is based on the GT's chassis. Press reviews for the GT1 were positive. The car was featured on the cover of Motor Trend and Car magazine. The Ford Shelby GT1 was floated as a possibility of taking over the Ford GT's production line after its production came to an end. Neither Shelby car was built. In 2005, Caroll Shelby built his very first modern masterpiece CSM 00001 V6 Shelby Mustang CS6 and number 01 V8 to prove to Ford that he could still build high-performance cars. Its V6 produced 380 HP, making it faster than Ford's V8 300 HP. Because Ford thought the CS6 would hurt Ford Mustang V8 sales, Ford told Shelby to go with the 500 HP V8 instead. Shelby first built a V8 modern version look of the Eleanor. Caroll built only one at the Shelby factory. Later WCC built 4 as kits. Few CS6 Shelbys were also built as kits. Consequently, these are among the rarest Shelbys in the world. The Shelby GT 500 was revealed at the New York International Auto Show and became available in the summer of 2006 as part of the model year 2007 lineup. It was powered by a 5.4-liter modular V8, with 4 valves per cylinder heads borrowed from the $150,000 Ford GT supercar, an Eaton M122 Roots-type supercharger rated by Ford at 500 horsepower, 370 kilowatts, and 480 ft-lb-f, 650 Nm of torque. It had a Tremec T6060 manual transmission, reworked suspension geometry, 18-inch wheels, functional aerodynamic body kit, and a retro solid rear axle. The GT500 started at an MSRP of $40,930 for the coupe and $45,755 for the convertible. Although Caroll Shelby had no hands-on involvement in the design of the car, he provided Ford and SVT special vehicle team input on what would make the car better and convinced Ford to use wider rear tires, from 255 mm wide to 285 mm wide. Shelby, in cooperation with the Hertz Corporation, produced 500 cars named Shelby GTH in 2006, designed after the Shelby GT.350H Rent-A-Racer, from 1966 under a similar partnership. This was a special edition Ford Mustang GT, available for rental from Hertz. A Ford Racing Performance Group FR1 Power Pack increased the GT's 4.6L V8 engine to 325 horsepower, 242 kilowatts. The cars included a custom Shelby hood and black and gold body styling, incorporating a gold-plated Hertz nameplate on both sides. A consumer version of the Shelby GTH was available from Shelby through Ford dealers, called the Shelby GT. There were 5,682 vehicles for 2007 and 2,300 for 2008 were built. They had the same engine as the GTH, but more suspension, appearance, and drivetrain upgrades and were available with either manual or automatic transmission. White and black colors were available for 2007 models and Grabber Orange or Vista Blue were available for 2008. A convertible was available in 2008 also. An available upgrade from the Shelby factory in Las Vegas were a few different superchargers. It then was called a Shelby GT/SC. All Shelby GTs are shipped with the Shelby serial number CSM on the dashboard badge and in the engine compartment, such as 07 SGT0001 or 08 SGT0001. In 1963, the Roots Group, manufacturer of Sunbeam automobiles, wanted Shelby to upgrade their Alpine sports car to a more powerful version, using the Ford small block V8 engine, as he had done with the AC Cobra. Shelby did so, and Roots, pleased with the results, named the upgraded model the Tiger. In 1967, Chrysler bought Sunbeam and decided to use their own small block engine in the vehicle. However, their engine would not fit and marketed the cars with Ford engines until the supply ran out and the model was discontinued. In his later years, Shelby brought several lawsuits against companies making copies of the Cobra body for use on kit cars, ostensibly for copyright, trademark, and patent violations. Despite the litigation, the Cobra kit car industry continues to thrive. One of the lawsuits involved the Superformance Brock Coupe, a copy of the original Shelby Daytona Coupe. The Superformance Brock Coupe was designed by Pete Brock, who had also designed the original Daytona Coupe for Shelby. Shelby American sued Superformance after the company had developed and begun production of the Superformance Brock Coupe. Eventually, the litigation was settled, though the terms of the settlement have never been released to the public. As a result of the agreement between the two companies, the product is now known as the Shelby Daytona Coupe, despite being neither designed nor built by Shelby American. Nearly 150 of these new Shelby Daytona Coupes have been built as of February 2007. In 2002, Unique Performance, a company of Farmers Branch, Texas, purchased a license from Caroll Shelby Enterprises to place his name on a series of continuation vintage vehicles. This company specialized in recreating 1960s-style Shelby Mustangs. They purchased used Mustangs and installed updated versions of the Shelby 325 horsepower, 302 cubic inch V8 engine. They also use modern 5-speed manual transmissions, brakes, steering, suspension, interiors, and entertainment systems. Because Shelby's license was purchased, these cars have Shelby serial numbers. 1967 Custom Fastback Mustang Eleanor from the 2000 film Gone in 60 Seconds. In October 2007, Caroll Shelby ended his licensing agreement with Unique Performance due to numerous issues of customer complaints where vehicles were not delivered. Unique Performance was subsequently raided by law enforcement for VIN irregularities and declared bankruptcy, which effectively ended the Shelby continuation, Eleanor Mustang production. Shelby was in turn sued by victims of Unique Performance for his involvement in the criminal activity. The 2000 remake of Gone in 60 Seconds movie highlighted the star car character Eleanor, a customized 1967 Mustang. Some custom car businesses began to reproduce Eleanor-looking cars with the trademark name, causing Denise Halicki to again take legal action to protect the trademark and the copyrighted Eleanor's image. In 2008, Halicki won a case against Caroll Shelby, who was also selling Eleanor, using the trademark name and copyrighted image. The Shelby Corvette began when Gary Laughlin, a wealthy Texas oilman and gentleman racer, had just broken the crankshaft in his Ferrari Monza. Like most Ferrari repairs, this was not going to be a cheap, simple fix. At the time, Laughlin was an active participant in the American sports car racing scene, and was a close acquaintance of many of the key figures, including fellow Texan Shelby. The two had witnessed a number of V8-powered home-built specials challenge, and often defeat, the best that Europe had to offer. The idea developed that they should build a dual-purpose car based on the solid mechanicals of the Chevrolet Corvette. European-style alloy coachwork could help the chassis finally realize its potential. By chance, Laughlin owned a few Chevrolet dealerships and had a particularly valuable friend in Peter Coltrane, an automotive journalist who had gained an in with the influential Italians. Laughlin met with Jim Hall and Caroll Shelby to begin discussing what form their new Italian-American hybrid would take. The general consensus was that they should create a car that offered the best of both worlds. A Corvette with the distinction, performance, and style of a Ferrari, but with the power and reliability of a Chevrolet. The aim was to create a genuine high-performance GT with enough leg and headroom to meet American expectations. Once this was decided, Coltrane put Laughlin in touch with Sergio Scaglietti. With the help of Chevrolet General Manager Ed Cole, 3 1959 Corvette chassis were discreetly acquired from the St. Louis Corvette plant before bodies could be fitted. One was specified with a Fully and a 4-speed. The others came with twin 4-barrels and automatics. During one of his frequent trips through Europe, Laughlin met with Sergio Scaglietti, who agreed to produce a small run of bodies for the Corvette chassis. At the time, Scaglietti was busy turning out Ferrari's Tour de France and purpose-built racing cars. The Scaglietti Corvette would follow the lines of the Tour de France, albeit lines adapted to fit the Corvette's larger footprint. In an effort to impress or perhaps appease GM management, Laughlin specified a proper Corvette grille. The interior would be similarly hybridized with an intriguing combination of Americana Stewart Warner gauges, T-handle parking brake, Corvette shift knob, and classic Italian GT, a purposeful crackle-finished dashboard, deeply bolstered leather seats, and elegant door hardware. 1959 Shelby Corvette. The completed car arrived in Texas in the fall of 1960, almost 18 months after the chassis had been obtained. It proved to be the only one of the three to be finished in Italy and shipped back to the United States as a complete car. When Laughlin received the car, the fit and finish were not quite what he was expecting, especially as the project had taken nearly 3 years from conception to completion. Enzo Ferrari would have been quite unhappy to hear that his exclusive coach builder was working on side projects for a group of Texans. So, to Scaglietti credit, the car was largely a prototype and the work was executed in a shroud of secrecy. Towards the end of the project, Caroll Shelby, who by then was living in Italy, received a late-night phone call from Ed Cole. Cole had been chastised by GM management and was told to drop the project. It was poor timing. American car companies were under pressure to cut down on their high-performance and racing programs. They simply could not deal with the repercussions of a GM-backed Italian-bodied Corvette. The remaining cars were shipped to Houston in a partially completed state. Jim Hall took delivery of one. Shelby, who had helped conceive the project, ended up declining the remaining car and it was promptly sold. This email and any documents attached hereto A. are protected by the Electronic Communications Privacy Act, 18 U.S.C. 2510 to 2521. B. may contain confidential and/or legally privileged information, and C. is for the sole use of the intended recipient named above. If you have received this electronic message in error, please notify the sender and delete the electronic message. Any disclosure, copying, distribution, or use of the contents of the information received in error is strictly prohibited.